Across the vast expanse of time and space, two luminaries of human thought meet to explore the eternal questions of wisdom and education. From the bustling streets of Athens comes Socrates, the gadfly of Greece, and from the courts of Lu arrives Confucius, the sage of the East.
Venerable Master Kong, your teachings have guided countless students, yet I must ask, what do you consider the essence of wisdom? In Athens, I found many who claimed wisdom through their status or learning, but few who could defend their understanding.
Wisdom begins with knowledge of the ancient ways, Socrates. I have studied the ways of the Zhou dynasty and the sage kings before them. They established patterns of proper conduct and governance that bring harmony to society. When I served as a minister, I saw how those who followed these principles governed well, while those who ignored them created chaos.
But tell me, how do we know these ancient ways are truly wise? In my conversations in the Agora, I have found that many traditions, when examined, rest on uncertain foundations. Consider the story of my friend Chaerephon, who asked the oracle of Delphi if anyone was wiser than myself. The oracle said no one was wiser, yet I knew my own ignorance. Through questioning others, I came to understand that my wisdom lay in recognizing what I did not know.
There is wisdom in recognizing one's limitations, but consider this. When I taught the classic of poetry to my students, we began with memorization and careful study. Only after they mastered the text could they understand its deeper meanings. One cannot question what they do not first understand. As I have said, I transmit rather than create. The wisdom of ages is like a great feast. One must first taste the dishes before suggesting improvements to the recipes.
Your metaphor intrigues me. Yet if we taste a dish and find it bitter, should we not question the recipe? Let me share what I learned from questioning a respected general about courage. He spoke confidently of military tactics, but could not define courage itself. Should we not first understand the nature of things before accepting them as wisdom?
In my experience teaching, those who question before mastering fundamentals are like archers who move the target rather than improve their aim. True wisdom comes from disciplined study and practice. When I taught archery, students first had to master their stance before discussing technique. The same applies to moral wisdom. First master the rituals and rules, then understand their purpose. The teacher's role is clearly defined in the proper order of things. Through example and instruction, they transmit both knowledge and moral virtue. In my school, I taught 6 disciplines: ritual, music, archery, charioteering, calligraphy, and mathematics. Each serves its purpose in creating a complete person. When the teacher upholds these standards, students naturally follow.
And yet, Master Kong, what if these standards themselves require examination? Consider my method. I ask questions not to instruct, but to reveal what the student already knows. Like a midwife, I merely assist in the birth of understanding.
Your questioning has merit, Socrates, but consider this. I once had a student who excelled in debate, but lacked respect for his elders. His clever words meant nothing without proper conduct. A teacher must first instill proper behavior before encouraging questioning.
Let us examine this further. What if the student's questioning reveals that certain traditional behaviors no longer serve their original purpose? I once questioned a respected teacher of rhetoric who could not defend his own methods.
You speak of questioning tradition, but I speak of understanding it fully first. When I taught the classic of poetry, students had to master the words before discussing their meaning. Order precedes innovation. As I have observed, learning without thought is labor lost. Thought without learning is perilous.
But what is the ultimate purpose of all this learning? In Athens, I found many educated men who could recite Homer, yet could not explain why virtue matters. Should we not first understand the purpose before we begin the journey?
Education serves to create virtuous people who can maintain social harmony. When I served as Minister of Justice in Lu, I witnessed how educated officials maintained order while ignorant ones created chaos. The purpose is practical: to create capable leaders and virtuous citizens.
You speak of virtue and capability, but can virtue be taught? Let us examine this assumption. If virtue could be taught, would not the sons of all good men be good? Yet I have seen virtuous fathers with wayward sons and corrupt fathers with noble children.
Virtue is taught through diligent practice and proper example. Take filial piety. A son learns to respect his father, then applies this respect to his ruler, and finally understands his duty to heaven. This is practical wisdom that builds character through daily practice.
But what makes these relationships worthy of respect? Is it tradition alone, or is there a deeper truth we must uncover? When I questioned the wealthy young men of Athens about justice, they could recite laws but not explain their foundations.
The relationships I speak of create harmony in society. When each person knows their role and performs it well, peace naturally follows. I have seen this in practice. Where ritual is respected, order prevails. Where it is abandoned, chaos follows.
You speak of virtue in leadership, but let us examine this more closely. In Athens, I questioned many leaders who claimed to govern with virtue, yet they could not define what virtue is. How can one lead through virtue without understanding its essence?
The relationship between ethics and governance is fundamental. When rulers cultivate virtue, the people naturally follow. I observed this principle in the state of Lu. When leaders performed the proper rituals and upheld moral standards, even common criminals reformed their behavior. Virtue manifests in the 5 relationships: ruler to subject, father to son, husband to wife, elder to younger, and friend to friend. When each person fulfills their proper role with sincerity, society achieves harmony. This is not abstract philosophy. I have seen it work in practice.
But consider this. In my trial, the leaders of Athens claimed to act virtuously while condemning me for questioning their wisdom. Should we not first establish what justice truly is before enforcing it?
Your questioning reveals an important point. However, in my experience as a minister, I found that good governance requires both understanding and action. A ruler who endlessly questions but never decides cannot govern effectively. As I taught my students, to know what is right and not do it is the worst cowardice.
Yet how can we act rightly without first knowing what is right? When I spoke with the craftsmen of Athens, each claimed to know more than they did. Is this not the same with rulers who govern without examining the nature of justice?
Through our discussion, Socrates, I see wisdom in your method of questioning. Perhaps true understanding requires both: the foundation of tradition and the refinement of examination. When I taught the 6 arts, we combined practice with reflection.
Indeed, Master Kong, your emphasis on practice and moral cultivation adds depth to mere philosophical inquiry. Perhaps wisdom lies in both questioning and doing, in both examining traditions and preserving what is valuable in them.
Consider the bamboo. It bends with the wind, yet remains rooted in the earth. So too must wisdom be both flexible in thought and grounded in practice.
And just as your bamboo grows ring by ring, perhaps knowledge grows through both preservation and examination. Each generation adding its understanding while questioning what came before.
Then let us agree. Wisdom requires both the stable foundation of tradition and the growing shoots of inquiry.
Though separated by vast distances of space and time, these 2 great teachers reveal complementary truths about wisdom and learning. Through Confucius, we see the importance of moral cultivation and practical wisdom. Through Socrates, we learn the value of questioning and self-examination. Together, They show us that true wisdom requires both understanding what we know and recognizing what we don't.